Wednesday show. Wednesday show. Wednesday show. Maybe? I don't know if you can hear me or if you're even there. The link was not going up for some reason on my Instagram, so we're posting that now because now that we're live, it's actually going live. So that way we can have other people join us here. Okay. So how's everyone doing? So usually I didn't have I wasn't worried about the hearing thing, but usually on my YouTube, like I'll pop up with the link so that I can promote the video so other people can be like, hey, I want to go watch that show. But today, for some reason, it was not allowing me. We are going to be continuing our Disney 100 Year series today, right here on the. I try to do that in a sneaky way. We are continuing our Disney 100 series right now over on the From Screen to Theme Facebook page and my YouTube channel with the link right there. All right, so tonight we're going to be going through and having it so you guys are choosing what we're going to be talking about for the years. No, it's available on Facebook too. It's just it's a late start for both of them for some reason. I'm not sure what's going on with it. But here, let me check on my side to make sure it is working on From Screen to Theme Facebook page. It just might be, yeah, it shows we're live on there. We are live on both. We are live on From Screen to Theme Facebook page and over on my YouTube channel as well. So have no fear. If you prefer one or the other, you can go to either one. I prefer, personally, if you guys are on YouTube. So make sure you join us for all that. Why is Epcot for all the 100 celebrations versus the Magic Kingdom? That's a good question. We're going to get to that as soon as we start the show here. I'm gonna put that in my filing cabinet. That is a filing cabinet. But yeah, like I said, I prefer if you guys watch on YouTube because it actually helps myself out a lot more than Facebook does. Facebook's just more for a convenience for you guys if you guys want to watch it on Facebook. So yes, YouTube is more beneficial, I should say, for myself. So that is all. But we are going to start the 736th episode of the Wednesday Show in 5, 4, 3, 2. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 736th episode of the Wednesday Show. Today is September 27th, 2023, and I'm your host, as always, Brent Dodge. Hello. Today we're going to be continuing our Disney 100 series. If you guys have never joined it for us before, we're going to be going through and having it so you choose different years from the last 100 years, and we will talk about different things that happen in the history of Disney in those 100 years. But of course, before we get to that, let's talk about our news for the week. So first off, thank you everyone who's been joining us for our Saturday in the park. Actually, thank you so much to those of you who joined us for this past Saturday in the park. It has become our most viewed Saturday in the park in the history of all Saturdays in the parks. So thank you everyone out there who has been checking that one out. We were over at Walt Disney Presents One Man's Dream, but we did one of the activities that not a lot of people know about over there. So if you have not checked it out, make sure you go check that out. And of course, if you want to join us this coming up Saturday, every single Saturday, we do a broadcast live from my YouTube channel at 1 o'clock Eastern time. So make sure you join us every single Saturday right over there. Also, speaking of videos, make sure you are checking out our daily YouTube videos every single day. We have a brand new YouTube video going up over on my YouTube channel. And also, we also have a brand new YouTube short as well. So every single day, make sure you're checking out our shorts and our YouTube videos to help this channel grow. And my, oh my, have we grown this week. This week has been an amazing week. So thank you everyone out there who's been watching the videos, giving the videos likes, commenting on the videos. All of those things truly, truly, truly help me out. And of course, if you've not already liked and subscribed to this video, make sure you like and also make sure you subscribe as well. Let's take a look at our starting numbers for tonight. As always, if we get more subscribers as we go through here tonight, we will go into extra innings as we go through as well. Our starting number is 3,206 subscribers. Not bad at all. We are going extremely quickly lately, so keep on spreading the word, and we might actually hit 3,210 by the end of the night. Who knows? So keep sending your friends over, and hopefully we can hit that number before the show ends tonight. As always, we'll go into extra innings if we get more people through the night. Also, tonight's episode is sponsored by It's All About the Mouse Travel Jazz Hands. Make sure you stop by It's All About the Mouse Travel.com for all of your Disney travel needs. All of their services are absolutely positively 100% free. So make sure you book with them for your next Disney vacation. All right. So for those of you guys who have never joined us for our Disney 100 Year series in the past, this is how the Disney 100 series works. In this fancy schmancy book here, I have a list of every single year from 1923 all the way until 2023. So we can go through and talk about things that happen in each specific year. If you have joined us in the past, obviously you know that some of the years have already been taken. Actually, quite a few of them have been taken throughout the year since we started. We started this series back in January. We are actually quickly approaching the 100th year anniversary celebration. The actual 100 years of the Disney company is on October 16th. So we are almost there. So as we continue going through here, we'll go and have, hopefully we can get a few more years off. But if you choose a year that has already been done, we will just say that one's already been done. Please choose another year. So let's get this party started. Before we start going through, if you guys have a year that you want to have thrown out there, start throwing to the comments below. I will answer this question while people start throwing answers in the comments below. Why Epcot for all the 100 celebrations versus the Magic Kingdom? The main reason that they are doing Epcot opposed to the Magic Kingdom for the 100-year celebration is simply to the fact that Magic Kingdom was the main spot for all of the celebration for the 50th anniversary. Now, when Disney announced they're going to do a 100-year celebration, one of the biggest things that they were afraid of was the idea that some people would confuse the 100-year celebration and the 50th celebration as well. Because a lot of people who go to Disney every single year, some of them might not realize the 50th was for just specifically Walt Disney World, and the 100th was for the entire Walt Disney Company. In fact, still to this day, I see it almost every single day where people are posting online confused because just last year we were celebrating the 50th and now we're celebrating the 100th, and it just doesn't make sense. And it doesn't make sense if you're looking at it that way, opposed to two completely different things, one of them being Walt Disney World and the other thing being the entire company. So when they started to go through and talk about possibly doing a promotional thing for the 100 years of Disney, the entire company, the first thing that they said they were going to do was they're going to celebrate it mainly in Disneyland, with no real celebration happening over in Walt Disney World. When they started to talk about that, then eventually a lot of people started getting upset because they were not doing anything special at Walt Disney World. And they said, okay, well, Magic Kingdom was the main spot for the celebration for the 50th. So we'll have it so people don't associate that in case it does confuse people. And we'll have it so the 100-year celebration is mainly being taken place over in Epcot. So for the Epcot, the celebration did start this past Friday, September 22nd, I want to say. Don't quote me on the date. I'm pretty sure that's the date, though. And over there, you can get a brand new statue. If you are one of my Instagram subscribers, you did see the picture I posted today. Features the Mickey Mouse statue. It says it all started with the mouse. We can also go meet Mickey and Minnie, which was on my regular Instagram today as well, where they are in their 100-year celebration outfits. Really cute. And then in addition to that, we also got Soarin' over California. The original Soarin' is now back over at the Land Pavilion in Epcot as well to help celebrate the 100-year celebration. So I think as time will go on, maybe we'll see a few more things popping up throughout the year. I don't think it's going to be anything massive, but hopefully we will be able to see a few more things kind of popping up as time goes on here. Okay, so let's get this party started. Like I said, if you guys have never joined us, you're going to start throwing some years down into the comments below, and we will go through and talk about the history of the Disney company in those specific years. If it is a year that we've already done, we will have to unfortunately pass on it and then go to the next one. Our first year here is 2023, which I'm like 99% positive we've done. We have done 2023. So 2023, unfortunately, we have already done. Let's go to our next one here, 1999. We have already done as well. While you guys try to figure out what year you guys want to throw out there, let me really quickly go through every year that we have not done so far. Because our next one coming in is 2000, which we have done as well. So we have not done 1924, 25, 26, 27, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 51, 52, 54, 55, 56, 57, 59, 60, 61, 64, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 74, 78, 78, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 83, 85, 86, 87, and 90, 92, 95, 96, 97, 0, 03, 04, 07, 09, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 21. Okay, let's go to our next one here. 2015. 2015 has not been done yet, so we are going to start off with 2015. Hi, Amanda. How are you doing? Broccoli. It's an inside joke. Some people are like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't even know what I'm talking about. I just know how to spell it. Okay, let's start off in 2015 because 2015, I believe, was a pretty big year. Yes, 2015 was a massive, massive, massive year for the most part with everything. No ads tonight. No ads tonight at all. No. So let's go. We're going to start off with 2015 is going to be our first year here. So in 2015, not a huge year when it comes to the parks. Yeah, kind of. I mean, nothing too massive happened in 2015 when it came to the parks. So let's focus more on the movies. So first off, in the movies, there was a lot of really good movies that came out in 2015. First off, one of my favorite live action remakes. There's only like 3 or 4 live action remakes, and I'm like, oh, like I'll recommend to people. And this is one of them. This is one of those when people ask me what's a great Disney live action remake. Cinderella is always at the top of my list. It's one of the best ones that they've ever done. But at the same time, if you don't like those fairy tales that are completely different than what the original film is, then you probably won't like it. But I always like it when there's a completely different retelling of the story that still stays true to the original story. I'm looking at you, Maleficent. You did a good job for the first half of the movie, and then in the last half, I was like, what am I watching? And then same thing with the second movie. Just not a huge fan. But in 2015, we did get quite a few different Disney films. We got Cinderella, the live action remake with Lily something. I don't know celebrities' names, but her name was Lily something, is the main actress. Then, in addition to that, we did get a brand new movie that was based on the Disney theme parks. And this is one of those movies that I feel so ashamed for because it did not get the love that I think it deserves. I don't think it's the best Disney park to movie concept that they've ever done, but I agree with you on this one. The best live action remake is Cruella. 1,000,000% agree with that. But when it comes to live action or films that are based off of the parks, one of the most unique ones, in my personal opinion, is the movie Tomorrowland. Tomorrowland with George Clooney. I do know that celebrity. And George Clooney's Tomorrowland takes place with a little boy who goes to the 1964 World's Fair, and he is brought into a completely different world where the tomorrow is the future. And then eventually, as time goes on, more and more crazy chaos happens, and he has to save the world in Tomorrowland. Overall, amazing film that I just wish would have gotten a little bit more love because a lot of people that I talked to just did not seem to really care about it. You still haven't seen Cruella? You're right for making that face. That is such a good film. Okay, so in addition to those ones, we did get a brand new Pixar film, which was great. And we also got a brand new Pixar film, which was terrible, in my personal opinion. Maybe other people out there think differently. However, let me explain why I hated the film. But first, before we get to that one, let's talk about the one that I do really enjoy is Inside Out. First off, if you ever want good music to fall asleep to, that opening song from Inside Out. Tune, tune, do 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 do. Sometimes when I'm really tired, but I'm like I'm still like awake enough, I put that on and I'm out within seconds. It's such a good film. The entire movie is great. It doesn't just put you to sleep. I think it's a great film with Bing Bong. Who's your friend that likes to play Bing Bong, Bing Bong? And then in addition to that, we do have all the different emotions as well, along with Riley, as we go through another amazing Pixar film that takes us through all of our emotions. Great film overall. It reminds me a lot about the old attraction over at Epcot, which is now Cranium Command, which is one of my favorite attractions over there as well. In addition to that, we did get another film that was terrible, which was The Good Dinosaur. The good in the title is very misleading because it was bad. It was not a good film. Let me explain why I don't like this, because a lot of times when I talk about The Good Dinosaur and my disdain for The Good Dinosaur, people judge me and then they start hearing my story and they're like, oh, okay, kind of makes a little bit more sense. So prior to The Good Dinosaur coming out, I was at one of the D23 expos where they announced the idea of The Good Dinosaur. Now, when they announced the idea of The Good Dinosaur, they said, we're in the early stages of working on this brand new film called The Good Dinosaur. And they showed us some of the concept pieces from it, where the comet misses the Earth and all the dinosaurs live. And then the entire concept was what happens when dinosaurs and humans just grow up together and they live side by side. And some of the stuff that they had in this preview of the film had it so like it was man and dinosaur, like with skyscrapers and stuff. Like it was actually like more modern times. And then on top of that, they were like, and let us introduce you some of our cast. And they had people like Neil Patrick Harris and who was the other one? They had like 5 different people up there that were all like amazing actors. And then they did a script switch and they switched everything and they dropped all of the actors. And then we got the movie that came out, which was The Bad Dinosaur. It was not a good movie, but The Good Dinosaur would come out in 2015. In addition to that, we did get 2 brand new Marvel movies. We got Age of Ultron, which was one of the Avengers films, which I, again, think it deserves more love than it actually receives. I feel like a lot of people just absolutely hate it for no reason at all. I don't think it's the best of the Avengers films, but I also don't think it's the worst of the Avengers films as well. So, hey, Frank, I am currently doing the Wednesday show. I'll talk to you later. I don't even know if you can hear me or not, but else my phone started ringing. And then, in addition to that, we also got another Avengers film, which would be Ant-Man, the very first Ant-Man, which people thought was going to be terrible, and then a lot of people just fell in love with. And our final film that would come out in 2015 would be the very first Star Wars film in the brand new Star Wars trilogy, which would be Star Wars The Force Awakens, which, of course, would take the entire world by storm. Became it became the highest grossing film of all time at the time of its release. Also, before we go on to our next year here, I would like to point out that one of my favorite things about The Force Awakens was the premiere event that they had December of 2015. During this event, they had it so you could go watch Star Wars The Force Awakens over at AMC Theaters, and then they took you, well, you drove yourself, but they brought you over to Disney's Hollywood Studios, where they had an all-night celebration of Star Wars. And it was the coolest thing I've ever experienced. And you got to go on Rock and Roller Coaster and have it so while you're going through there, the music that was pumping in was Star Wars music. Hands down, one of the coolest events that I've ever been to. And I wish they would bring it back for more than just that one night. They've had other Star Wars events, but nothing quite the same as that one. And I wish they would bring it back. All right, let's go to our next year here. 2008, we have done. So we're going to go on to our next one here, which is 1957. We have not done 1957. So let's, oh, wait, I hit it and then it didn't go through. So let's go to the year 1957. Also, for those of you guys who are just joining us right now, what we are doing tonight is we're continuing our Disney 100 Years series. If you have not joined us for this series before, you are throwing different years out there that are Disney related, or not Disney related, but from the last 100 years. And we're going through and talking about the history of what would actually happen in those years. So in 1957, we would start to see some changes at the Disneyland Resort. We got different things like the brand new, well, it was kind of brand new. It was actually failing miserably. Mickey Mouse Circus and the Mickey Mouse Circus had debuted just a few months prior to 1957. And then in 1957, Walt Disney realized that it was a complete flop, and they decided that they were not going to have the Mickey Mouse Circus going on anymore. So the Mickey Mouse Circus would disappear forever in 1957. In addition to that, we did get two brand new experiences on the big screen and the small screen. Our first one is probably the most traumatic film that anyone out there has ever watched before, which is Old Yeller. Remember Travis, the shed, the gun, the rabies? I still can't, like, Disney has put us through a lot of trauma through the years when it comes to just heartbreaking scenes in movies. Old Yeller might be the top of all of them, with poor Travis, played by Tommy Kirk, having to bring his beloved dog to the back and take care of him. But it also did have it so we were able to see Tony Kirk along with Moochie and the mom from Swiss Family Robinson. All three of them got to be siblings and mothers again, which was one of the positives of it. In addition to that year, we did have one thing that came out of it that was extremely good, and that is one of the best, if not the best, live action television series that Disney has ever created. And I know you're thinking, oh, Davy Crockett. No, Davy Crockett came out just a few years prior, but this would be the none other than Zorro. If you've never seen the Zorro live action series, it is without a doubt one of my favorite series in the history of Disney. Like I'm not even like somewhat pulling your leg here. If you want to just see great action, great storytelling, great everything, go watch Zorro. I think it's available on Disney Plus right now, right? Yeah, it is. Otherwise, if you're like me, you have all the tins from the Disney Treasures from back in like 2008, 2009, when they were released on the Disney Treasure DVD set. And literally, when I got those for Christmas one year, I finished all the seasons within a week. And I don't regret it at all, because without a doubt, it's one of the best series of all time. 1976. Have we done 1976? We have done 1976. So let's move on to our next year here. You guys are doing really good tonight, picking the ones that we've already done. If you want to, we can go through and I can read off all the years that we've done again. Sometime we'll do 1937 first, and then if our next one is another duplicate year, we will go through and do the other one. So 1937, well, of course, we're going to have the biggest event that ever happened in the history of Disney, and it looks like it's the only one that's really mentioned in the history of Disney here. So in 1937, we got our very first ever full-length animated feature film in the form of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Now, before we continue on, because obviously we could just say, oh, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs came out that year. I think it's important to kind of talk about exactly what would happen this year when 1937 Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs would come out. So prior to this, animated films were not a thing, like literally not a thing. If you look at movies today, some of the biggest movies, not just Disney, but some of the biggest movies from the companies all across the board are animated films. Animated films are just such a staple in today's life. However, if you would go back 86 years ago to 1937, in 1937, the idea of an animated film was laughed upon. Not just laughed upon, but scientists, actual real-life scientists, truly believed that if people sat in a movie theater for an hour and a half looking at an animated film, they would have some developmental problems and they would not be normal anymore. That might have been when society started to go downhill. That's maybe, I don't know. But when we would actually have it so Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs would come out, a lot of people told Walt Disney that he was absolutely crazy. He bet his entire life savings, he bet his entire studio on the idea that this movie would be a success. And my golly, it was beyond a success, because in 1937, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs at that point would go on to become the highest grossing film, not animated film of all time. It would be passed up 2 years later with Gone with the Wind, but in 1937, 1938, and 1939, it held the reins until Gone with the Wind debuted 2 years later in 1939. So Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs became an immediate hit to the point when it started to have its re-releases as the years would go on. Because if you remember back in the day before VHS tapes and DVDs were, and now obviously like Blu-rays and streaming and whatnot, back in the day, the only way that you could actually go through and watch some of these old Disney films was every 7 years they would be released once again in theaters. So in 1944, guess what? We got Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs again. 1951, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. 1958, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. 1965, guess what? Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. 1972, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. 1979, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And 1986, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. You understand what I'm talking about. So with all those re-releases, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, when you go through and take in the idea of increases, I'm drawing the biggest blank on the word right now, when profit goes up and inflation. If you take inflation into mind, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs is still to this day one of the top 10 grossing films of all time. And again, not just animated, all movies, live action and animated, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs would become one of the biggest ones of all time. So going back into 1977, or I'm sorry, not 1977, 1937, when Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs would come out, it would truly change the entire world forever. And because we've been going through and we've been talking about all these different milestones as we've gone through there, we've talked about 1928, we've talked about 1923, we've talked about 1971, we've talked about a lot of different years when big things happened in the history of Disney. I don't think, besides the creation of Mickey Mouse, anything would have been as big as 1937 when we received Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs in theaters. If it was not for this moment, what we know today would not exist. And I'm 100% positive that this hat right here would not be a thing. This show, we might be talking about Universal. I don't know. But if it was not for Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, I don't think what we have now with parks, movies, so many different things, I don't think any of it really would exist. And not just that, I think the entire course of movies would not be the exact same thing as what we have now. Because if it wasn't for Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, even though by standards of when you look at all the different Disney animated films, it's not the best story-wise, it's not the greatest with characters. Some of it's amazing. Dopey's an amazing character. I absolutely love Dopey. He's like one of the best characters of all time. But when you look at Snow White compared to Rapunzel, two completely different characters. And obviously Disney's come a very long way since 1937. But if it was not for the idea of this girl singing, I'm wishing for the one I love by a wishing well, I honestly don't think we would have things like Tangled or Princess and the Frog or Wish, which is going to be coming out in 2 months. I don't think a lot of the things that we have today would be around if it was not for Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Just my opinion. Long rant, but just my opinion. Okay, let's continue going through here. Let's get to another year because I just went on a long rant there. The best live action is Cruella. Oh, we already said that. Still haven't seen Cruella. Take Her to the Moon for me. Oh, it's such a... Oh. Inside Out was fab. The Sweet Shop and the Wish makes me so happy. 1,000,000% agree. I had ice cream there. I remember I wanted to go so badly what they scheduled me that night. You've still never seen all the other. I don't blame you at all. My dad was born in 1937. Great year. And look at you. It turned out just fine. Okay, let's go through. Someone else throw a year out in the comments. Oh, since no one's throwing years out, well, I'll do another quick recap of all the years that we have not done yet. We have 19. These are the ones that are available still. So you guys can say these ones, and these are ones that we have not covered yet. 19, 24, 25, 26, 27, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 38, 39, 40, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 51, 52, 54, 55, 56, 59, 60, 61, 64, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 74, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 83, 85, 86, 87, 90, 92, 95, 96, 97, 03, 04, 07, 09, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 21. Okay, we got one. We got to take her. 1944. 1944. Ooh, hoo, hoo. That's not a song. 1985 is the song. Remember that song? All right, 1984. Well, let's talk a little bit about 1984. So in 1984, there was a lot of different things that were happening in the world. And of course, these different things that were happening around the world would affect Disney. So obviously, just a few years prior, we had a little thing called World War II. With World War II, most businesses started to kind of lose a lot of money. They started to go out of money. And at this point, Disney did have some short cartoons coming out, but nothing really big enough to really bring in a whole lot of money. Now, just a little bit before this, the year before, we did have it so Disney and the animators would go on a Goodwill Ambassador trip. And during this Goodwill Ambassador trip, or no, I'm sorry, 2 years before, they would come out with two films, Saludos Amigos and The Three Caballeros. However, in between these two films, nothing came out. So in 1943, we got films. 1945, we got films. 1944, though, we did not get films. And Disney started to try to figure out exactly how they were going to make films. And it actually goes back to the last year that we talked about, which was 1937. So like I said, in 1937, we had it so we had Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs came out. And then I said in 7 years later, 1944, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs would come out again. Now, the main reason that Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs came out 7 years later was not because of the idea that it was a, there was no home releases yet. There's no VHS, DVDs, Blu-rays, streaming. But the main reason that they would go through this and have it so they started to do this was because Disney was running out of money. And that's the basic thing. So the entire 7-year standard that became Disney of having it so they would re-release a film every 7 years started in 1944, 7 years after Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, mainly just due to the fact that the entire company had run out of money. Or not completely out of money, but they were running out of money and they needed to bring more money in. They knew Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was a hit. They figured a lot of the people who would have seen Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs that loved it might come back again. Otherwise, they also figured that there was now a brand new generation of kids who did not see Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs that would probably go see Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and this would bring more money into the company. So in 1944, we got our very first ever Disney film that was re-released in theaters in Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, just due to the fact that they were running out of money. Fun fact. Hey Gary, how you doing? All right, let's go to our next year here. Our next year here would be 1930. Did I try? Oh, I didn't cross off 44. 1933. We are slowly knocking these out one after another here. I don't know, I just became John Wayne. So in 1933, let's talk a little bit about history of Disney. On May 25th, let's talk about May 25th, because May 25th is a very big year, or a very big date when it comes to Disney. In 1932, May 25th, we would get Goofy as Dippy Dog in Mickey Mouse Review. That's when that movie would come out. A bunch of years later, in 1977, we would get another brand new thing called Star Wars, which, of course, was not owned by Disney, but eventually would become owned by Disney. But again, cultural phenomenon. It had a great partnership with Disney throughout the years until eventually Disney would purchase Lucasfilm, and Star Wars kind of became part of that whole thing. 1978, my brother was born, May 25th. But we're not talking about those years. We're talking about 1933, May 25th, 1933. Yet another amazing thing would happen in the history of Disney. And that would be the short cartoon, The Three Little Pigs, would debut. Who's afraid of the big bad wolf? The big bad wolf, the big bad wolf. Who's afraid of the big bad wolf? Bum, 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 bum. So if you've never seen The Three Little Pigs, first off, I don't know how, because it is one of the most iconic Disney shorts of all time. It was released under the Silly Symphony label, and it would become an immediate hit. Now, at the same time when this was all going on, the Great Depression was going on, and the idea of who's afraid of the big bad wolf was kind of an underlying political thing, even though I don't know if Disney really meant for it to be an underlying political thing. But a lot of people would start to say that it was a way for them to kind of go through and kind of bring themselves together to overcome things that were bigger and scarier than them, like the Great Depression. So going through and watching The Three Little Pigs, Obviously, we all know the story of the three little pigs. One built their house out of hay, another one out of sticks, and then one out of brick. Guess what? Only the one with the bricks would actually go through and survive in his house. Everyone else would just completely fail miserably, but that's besides the point. The entire storyline of the Three Little Pigs was done in a Silly Symphony cartoon, and with that Silly Symphony cartoon, it became such a big hit that it also became the first Silly Symphony cartoon that would spawn not just one, but two sequels. So we'd also have the Three Little Wolves, and we would also have, was it the Big Bad Wolf? No, the Fiddler Pig. One of the characters. I'm trying to think which character it was, but one of them got their own cartoon as well. So it would actually go on to become a massive hit. And if you've ever gone through and tried to figure out why on earth, if you watch things like the electric water pageant, not the electric water pageant, the Main Street Electrical Parade, if you've ever seen that anytime in the last 10 years, some of the characters you can find on there is the Big Bad Wolf along with the Three Little Pigs. And some people say, I don't understand why the Three Little Pigs and the Big Bad Wolf are there. They're not that popular. However, you also have to understand that, yes, they are. They might not be very popular in today's culture. However, back in 1933, when the short cartoon would come out, it was going to be one of the biggest things that ever existed. So when that would come out, not only would it go on to spawn two more things, it also would go on to win some Academy Awards that year, one for the song, Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Wolf, and also the Oscar for Best Short Cartoon. So overall, amazing film, amazing year, 1933. Besides that, not a whole lot going on in 1933. Of course, we would have some Mickey Mouse cartoons were coming out, and Donald Duck was right around the corner, but we didn't get to him quite yet. We'll get to him if you guys choose 1934. So, but that is going to be 1933. Let's move on to our next one, 1966. All right, 1966 would be a year that unfortunately would kind of live in infamy. Okay, let's start off with some good things that happened in 1966. Now we're unfortunately going to have to get to the worst things to happen in 1966. So starting us off in 1966, we did get a brand new Winnie the Pooh short cartoon called Winnie the Pooh and the Honey Tree. I'm just a little black rain cloud hovering above a honey tree. So if you've ever watched the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, or if you've ever ridden the attraction at Magic Kingdom or Disneyland or just a lot of the other parks around the world, you've probably done the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, and Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh kind of goes through the same exact storyline. We've got things like the windy, blustery day, Tigger comes, and then eventually we have the rain, rain, rain came down, 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 and rushing, rising rivulets, and then eventually everyone's celebrating because Pooh saved the day when all the rain was coming down. Those three separate stories that are all part of one massive story called The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh originally actually started off as three different short cartoons. So when people go through and talk about 1977 and The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, they talk about how Winnie the Pooh is such a staple character for the Disney brand. However, it's kind of sad that Walt Disney never got to experience him. However, Walt Disney did, because in 1966, when Winnie the Pooh and the Honey Tree came out, Walt Disney was very much alive and was very much able to not only see it, but actually be part of the making of it as well. He was the person who actually recruited the Sherman Brothers to write the music for The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh / the short cartoons for Winnie the Pooh. So if you've ever whistled or sang the song, Deep in the 100-acre woods, Walt Disney would have experienced that song because he actually had recruited the Sherman Brothers to go through and write that song along with several others for the Winnie the Pooh films that would eventually become a package film in 1977 called The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. However, in October of that year, we're going to go. I mean, I've got notes for just it says Winnie the Pooh and the Honey Tree, but yeah, everything else I'm just pulling from my head. I Winnie the Pooh on my shirt yesterday, and this cast member says, "Excuse me, I just want to tell you that you have some poo on your shirt. That's pretty good." So we're still on 1966. So also in 1966, in October of 1966, something else that would change most of our lives here, because a lot of people who are watching this show are, maybe you're not as much of a movie fan as you are a Walt Disney World fan, or maybe you're not as big of a Disneyland fan as you are a Walt Disney World fan. But in October of 1966, we got something that would change the world forever. Because in October of 1966, Walt Disney, along with his brother Roy, along with the governor of Florida, would sit down and announce to the world that they had plans to create a brand new theme park in Central Florida that would be called Disney World. Or at that point, they were referring to it as the Florida Project. So in 1966, October of 1966, we would get the amazing news that Epcot Center, which was like the main focus that they talked about, was going to be a working, living, breathing city that was going to open up here in Central Florida and allowing millions of people to come visit annually. And when these people would come, they would actually be able to go through, see how this working city worked, and then be able to take those ideas and bring them back to their cities all around the world. And it was going to be the perfect utopian in the future. Oh, it's amazing. So when they would go through this, with this, following in that same year, we would start to have different things like the Epcot film, which is one of the most popular films of all time. A lot of people will credit it as the last film that Disney ever produced, that it was ever actually part of. However, that's a lie. What? Yeah, that's a lie, people. Because in 1966, something else would come out. I know you're thinking, what movie would come out in 1966 that would spawn the world forever? Have it so everyone would always talk about this film and it would become one of the most beloved films of all time. Well, no one, because not a lot of people know this film, but it's a great film. It's called Follow Me Boys, starring Fred MacMurray and a very, very young Kurt Russell. I know what you're thinking. That Kurt Russell? Yes, that Kurt Russell. So Kurt Russell, still to this day, holds the record for most performances in live action Disney films. He has been in more live action Disney films than any other actor. But it all started with Follow Me Boys. But it also goes through and has it so it's one of those things that has an urban legend around it. But some people say it's true, including Roy Disney was saying it was true, and then Roy Disney passed away. So maybe that was just kind of tossed out. Anyways, let's talk a little bit about it. So Follow Me Boys would come out in December of 1966. When it would come out in December of 1966, Walt Disney would film his very last thing that he would ever film. So in December of 1966, Walt Disney would have it so he would release Follow Me Boys to the people who would go through and be sponsors for Disneyland, for his films, people who would be paying big monies to help the Disney brand out. So he decided to have a special preview for this film. However, Walt Disney got sick, so he was not able to go there, and he filmed a video that goes through explaining why he's not there. And essentially he just says, I've got a lot of different things going around at the office today, so unfortunately I just can't be there. But believe me, I wish I could be. If you've ever watched it, it's like haunting, because it's knowing it's the last thing he ever filmed. It's haunting listening to some of the words that are coming out of his mouth, because it's almost like he knows that he's about to pass away. It's crazy. I got it on my YouTube video, actually. So maybe I'll find the... Anyways. So when he films that, shortly after, like literally like days after, Walt Disney would end up in the hospital. Unfortunately, his cancer's returned, and things are not looking good. He is able to escape the hospital a few days later. And when I say escape, I mean like legit, like he ran away. And people found him at the studio wandering around. And eventually people said, hey, Walt, you got to go back to the hospital. So they brought him back to the hospital, which was literally right across the street. And while he was there were a few different things that he came up with. One, he said, that water tower that is outside my window, which is the Walt Disney Studios tower, is dirty. Promise me it'll never get dirty again. They make sure that now it's cleaned weekly because of those final words of Walt Disney. And then the other thing that he said is, Roy, I need you to come to my room, and I need to explain things to you. So using the tiles on his ceiling, Walt Disney would walk his older brother, Roy, through his plans of exactly where he wanted things to be in a place that would eventually become Walt Disney World, opposed to just Disney World. A few days later, Walt Disney would unfortunately pass away on December 15th, 1966, bringing the end of the creation of the Disney company kind of to a screeching halt. Now, we've talked a little bit about all the different things that would happen after Walt Disney would pass away. We've talked a lot about, we've done 68, 69, or no, actually we've not done, we've done 71, 72, 73, 75, 76. And when we've talked about those different years, we kind of talked about how there's not a lot going on because the idea of having this guiding light in the form of Walt Disney would disappear. And when that would disappear, people really didn't know what to do next. Some people didn't even know if they should go to work the next day because Walt Disney wasn't there. So what are they supposed to do from here on out? But December 15th, 1966, Walt Disney would pass away at the age of 65. And that means that it was 42 years since he had created the company, the Walt Disney Company, which is crazy because that means there's actually been 58 years without Walt, opposed to the 42 years with Walt at the company. Okay, 66 is a drag. Let's move on to a different year. It's 84. We've done 84. 84 has already been done. No one else out there has been throwing any things there, so keep on throwing your things. Holy crap, that's what the song is. Who's Afraid of the Big Whale? Yeah, that's from the Three Little Pigs. Are you literally just pulling all this out of your brain? I am. We said that one. I will never get over the original concept never coming to fruition. So the main reason the original idea for Epcot never came around was due to the fact that there are laws in place where some of the things that the Walt Disney Company wanted to have happen just could not have happen, mainly due to the fact that some of the things where your apartment or your house has to look this exact way, inside and out, because they're trying to create the perfect society from start to finish. So in reality, you're pretty much trying to take away people's individuality, and because of that, the government had to step in and say, if you guys build this, you have to make some changes. And unfortunately, some of those changes would create too big of changes, and they decided that was not worth it. And then we got Epcot as we know it today, Epcot Center over at Walt Disney World as well. Oh, you keep on throwing your years out there. Again, we got 1924, 25, 26, 27, 29, 30, 31, 32, 34, 35, 36, 38, 39, 40, 42, 43, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 51, 52, 54, 55, 56, 58, 60. Chat's being weird again, posting online. Oh, man. Anyone else out there have any years? Otherwise, we'll do this. And whatever year I land on. We got 1972. We've already done 1970. Frank, you asked for 1972 last time. I know what you asked for 1972, and we've already done 1972 specifically because of you. 1958 we've done before as well. What year was the No Way Jose created? That would be, I'm assuming, I could be wrong, I want to say 03. I think I've actually had this conversation with a cast member before. I think it was 2003, but I could be wrong. But I literally have asked this to the cast member before. There's a cast member over there who knows us pretty well. His name is Brian. Brian's been working there for like 20 years. Maybe not that long, but 20 years might be. 20 years actually seems pretty accurate. When I first moved down here, I used to go get a No Way Jose almost every single week. But and then I kind of had to slow down because I didn't want to die. So I'm not sure. All right, let's go through. Do you know what WALL-E stands for? It's waste allocator load lifting earth class. I feel like I might have missed one word. They ask this on the cruise all the time. Oh, you literally just wrote that. And it's the one that I always get wrong. Waste allocator load lifter earth class. I know the easy earth class. What would Brent do if they ever shut down Beaches and Cream? I would buy Disney specifically to save it. It was closed for refurbishment for a while one time, and it was awful. Let me tell you, never had such a bad 6 months. All right, keep on throwing those years out. Otherwise, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna go like this, and whatever year it landed on, that's what we're going to. 1997. 1997 is a good year too, because bless my soul, Herc was on a roll. Now I gotta find the years, but I know it's Hercules. Bless my soul, Herc was on a roll. Person of the week in every Greek opinion poll. What a pro. He was a no one, a 0-0. Now he's a hot shot. Now he's a hero. So we did get the film Hercules, which would come out, and Hercules would be one of the greatest Disney animated films of all time. I love Hercules, by the way. I just absolutely love it. The first time I ever saw it was actually at St. Norbert's College. Fun fact. Most people are like, I don't even know what you're talking about. But my brother was in charge of the movie nights up there when he went to school there. And we went up there during the family night, and they showed Hercules. And it was my first time ever seeing it, and I loved it. Also that year would come out would be two other very different films that were put out by the Disney label. One under the Touchstone label, the other one by the Disney label. First one would be a remake, or not a remake, a remake from a 1950s film, which was a classic. Originally was The Absent-Minded Professor. Now it was Flubber, starring Robin Williams. In addition to that, in our Touchstone ones, we would get Nicolas Cage in the movie Con Air, where a bunch of cons take over an airplane. So, not the most amazing of things, but so let's go through and continuing our year here, 1997. So first off, 1997 would be just a few years after Disney would release a film which would inspire a unlikely partnership. So let me explain. Because just a few years earlier, 1994, I want to say, I could be wrong, but I want to say it's 1994, Disney would come out with a live-action film called Angels in the Outfield. Remember? Da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da, with Christopher Lloyd and that kid from 30 Rock from the Sun. And the kid was like, it could happen. It was a great movie. I absolutely love it. But is that on Disney Plus? I want to watch that movie tonight. If it's on Disney Plus, I'm watching that one tonight. But in that movie, they would go to Angel Stadium, and the entire thing was the kid Richard. I want to say his name was Richard. I could be wrong. I think his name was Richard, though. Maybe that was the little boy, but I think Richard was the main kid. Don't quote me on any of this. Quote me on some of it, but not all of it. I want to say his name was Richard. His dad was like, I'll take you back, kid, once the Angels win the pennant. And so the kid like makes, he prays, and he's like, God, please, if you can help the Angels win the pennant so I can have a family again. And then eventually the Angels win the pennant because all the Angels are coming down and they're in the outfield. See how that works? But when Disney started to go through and do some filming with Angels, they would actually go through and make a partnership with the Anaheim Angels, and eventually would go through and purchase the entire thing in 1997, which is, I selected it randomly. That's why we don't have it on the screen. So when 1997 would come around and we would have Angels in the Outfield would inspire a partnership which would eventually lead to Disney purchasing the Angels and creating the Anaheim Angels. This was going to be just right around the same time as when they had the Mighty Ducks. So they would actually have it so there would be more and more people coming to the Anaheim area, not just for Disneyland, but if you're a sports fan, now they have two franchises that they own there, the Mighty Ducks and the Anaheim Angels as well. Fun fact, if you've ever done a Disneyland Run Disney race, highly recommend it. It's actually my favorite one of the races. Well, maybe not, but I don't know. I go back and forth all the time. But one of the coolest courses that I've ever done is you actually run through Angel Stadium, and every single time, I just think it's one of the coolest things in the entire world. In addition to that, at Walt Disney World, we would get two brand new things. We would get Wide World of Sports, which ironically, we've got the Anaheim Angels, but that's not who would actually start playing at Wide World of Sports. It would actually be the Atlanta Braves. Who knew? And then we would also get the west side of Disney Springs, or downtown Disney would be opening up as well in 1997. And that's what would bring in things like AMC, giant movie theater, the Virgin Megastore. Remember the Virgin Megastore? That was the coolest store when I was on my college program, that's where we always went. Like on our days off or at night when the parks were closed, and we're like, we should go down to the Virgin Megastore, guys, and check out the movies. And we'd always like walk home with like $5 movie. Oh, it was the greatest. I had loved the Virgin Megastore. And then we also got Cirque du Soleil and Disney Quest, which would open up the following year, I want to say, right? Or was that year? I'm pretty sure it's the following year. So in addition to all of that stuff, over on Broadway, we would get the Lion King musical would debut. Oh, I just can't wait to be on stage. And then we would also have it so after the distribution of Toy Story 2 years prior, in 1997, Pixar was still just pretty much a new company. They only had one film that had ever come out, Toy Story, under the Disney label. So in 1997, Pixar and Disney would come to an agreement to make a brand new deal. It would last 10 years, starting in 1997, and it would start off the following year with A Bug's Life, where Disney would continue to distribute these different films until eventually the terms would either run out in 2007 or, as we know, in 2006, the entire Disney company would actually purchase Pixar instead, which is kind of crazy. Roger, that's his name, Roger. Yes, outside of running into Magic Kingdom Main Street, running through Angel Stadium is really cool. 1,000,000% agree. I was freaking out for a second there. I was like, oh, another Run Disney Fairs. And then it's like the one guy that does all the races with me. It's still exciting. But hi, Frank. And then our final thing is Playhouse Disney would launch over on the Disney Channel as well, or its own channel as well on cable. Okay, let's check our subscriber number. And if we have gone up, we'll go through and we'll do 1 or 2 more years. We'll do 1 year per subscriber that we've gotten through the show here tonight. Otherwise, all right, we're still at 3,206 subscribers. Not bad at all. What we'll do is we'll do 1 more year. If you guys get us 1 more subscriber by the time we finish going through that year, then we will go through and do another year, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So someone out there choose a number while other people try to get us new subscribers. Yeah, Roger. You got an angel with you right now. And then he didn't have an angel with him, and he wanted to pet it on his own. Oh, because the angels weren't allowed to help out in important games. Oh, what a great film. I really want to watch Angels in the Outfield now. It could happen. I love that kid. The little boy. Oh, he was such a cute little kid. It could happen. And he never talked around anyone. And then when he finally talked, they're like, oh, you can't talk. He only talked to Roger. What was that kid's name? I can't think of any of them right now, but I just love that movie. Okay, I think maybe we'll do this again. Okay, what year did we get? It was between the 2 years. We'll do 1956. 1956. I can't think of what happened in 1956. The other one that I was between, I know very well, but I could have been talking about that one for the next 30 minutes. So we'll start off here with 1956. What's on my notes for 1956? Anything? I'm trying to think if any. There was no animated films that came out in 1956. I think there was. I can think of a. Was that 56? Yeah, it was 56. Oh, that's the only thing that happened in 1956. Okay, well, first off, in 1956, we would get brand new things that were going on at Disneyland that were all little temporary things. For instance, the Storybook Canal Boats would now become the Storybook Canal Boats. Prior to that, when we would open up in 1955, it would be the Storybook Land Boats, and it wouldn't go through any of the little miniatures. It was literally just riding around grass, and it would just been a very, very, very boring ride. I can't even imagine some of the old rides at Disney and what they would have been like. But if you were on a boat and you would just go past nothing, I would be like, what on earth am I on right now? So in 1956, it would switch over and would become the Storybook Land and Canal Boats. I don't have that on my notes, but I do know that for a fact that was in 1956. In addition to that, we did get a live action movie, which Eric, actually, I don't know if Eric's chat's working at all right now, But Eric was actually talking about this quite a bit of like a week or two ago as different movies that need to come on Disney Plus, and this one definitely needs to come on Disney Plus. It is The Great Locomotive Chase. If you've never seen The Great Locomotive Chase, it is a high action, humorous, fun filled Disney film. It's just a great live action film. And I don't remember all the details about it, so I'm not going to go into too much detail about it. But I do remember that I've seen it like twice and years ago, way back in the day. But if you've ever seen it, it's a great film. It's worth checking out. It's called The Great Locomotive Chase. It came out in 1956, and it desperately needs to be revisited once it comes out on Disney Plus. Or is it here? Did you know that you can request movies on Disney Plus? I don't know if people know that. I do it all the time. Anytime that I think about a movie, and now that I think about this, it's gonna be like, oh, you can't even do that anymore because it's been a few months since I tried it. They probably got sick of me too. They're probably like, this guy again. Let's see here. Okay, first off, we're gonna do Great Locomotive. No, not on there. Now we're gonna try Angels in the Outfield. Angels in the no. None of the movies we're talking about are coming out today. But then if you go down here, oh, it's not on there anymore. It's not on there. Blast it all. Okay. So we cannot request movies anymore. I used to request movies all the time. They probably took the feature away from me because I was like every week would be like, oh, you need this movie on there too. And they're probably like, oh, this guy again. Oh wait, that's literally all that happened out in 1956. 1956 is a very dull year. We have a lot of years left that are very dull years. Just a heads up. But we also have some years that are really exciting years. I am shocked no one said 1955 yet. I'm shocked that no one said 1964 yet. I am shocked that no one has said, oh, just those two. No, there's a lot of these things. Like the 90s are amazing years for films. Like there's so many great films that came out in the 1990s. And then there are so many great films that have come out in the 2000s as well. The early 2000s, not as much. But there's been so many different things that have happened with the company throughout those years. Okay, we are going to see if we went up any subscribers. If we went up any subscribers, we will go to our next one, which I see out in the chat room now. And unfortunately, we did not go up any. So we are going to wrap up tonight's episode here. However, I am thinking that because the 100-year anniversary celebration is coming right around the corner, literally, it is 2.5 weeks away, 3 weeks away, 3 weeks away. What day of the week is it? Is it a? Oh, it's a Wednesday. It's not a Wednesday. No. It's a Monday. So in about 2.5, almost 3 weeks from now, we will have the official day of the 100-year anniversary. So I'm thinking we might continue our 100-year celebration over the next 2 to 3 weeks here to continue all the fun as well. But on that note, I'd like to remind you guys that once again, tonight's episode is sponsored by It's All About the Mouse Travel. Oh my gosh, travel. Make sure you stop by. It's all about the mousetravel.com for all of your Disney travel needs. All their services are absolutely positively 100% free. So make sure you book with them for your next Disney vacation. I'd like to thank everyone out there for joining us once again this week. Please keep on spreading the word about the Wednesday show and From Screen to Theme, and invite anyone and everyone to join the group over on Facebook or to subscribe over on YouTube as well. Of course, as always, remember that anything can happen if you let it. Until next time, have a great week, everybody. Bye-bye. Goodbye now. Goodbye. Bye-bye now. Goodbye. Bye-bye. Are they gone? Are they gone? Oh, good. My cheeks are just killing me. I just can't stand this guy in the brush.